Hello YouTube, how you doing? It's been a while. In fact, it's been an unusually long while. It is Monday the 27th. It is April and we're still in lockdown, which is good. But is it lockdown though? Is it really? No, not really. It should be lockdown, but it's not. I wouldn't so much call it a lockdown. I'd call it more of a can you stay at home please, and no one's doing it, which is sad really. I don't go down the shops. I literally walk the dog, that's it. But I've heard numerous reports from various different people that I know that the shops down in Penge, sunny Penge, it's busy down there all the time, and the only thing that's open down there are 2 butchers. One of them's decent, maybe 3 butchers. One of them's decent, and 3, maybe 4 supermarkets. Other than that, there's not much going on in Penge, and it's absolutely heaving down there all the time. So I speak to a colleague of mine who's a bus driver. He's working. Hello Chris, how you doing? I'm good, Roy. Very good. So I speak to my colleague, a very good friend of mine, a couple of days ago, and I asked him, what's it like down at work? What's it like on the buses? What's it like down that part of the world? And he said to me, he went, Chris, you wouldn't think that there was a lockdown. I said, why is that? He said, because down the Walworth Road, from Camberwell down to Elephant and Castle, there's more people than there were before. Lockdown. Stuart C, good evening. So it's not really, it's not right. There's too many people out and about. Kay Graffanakis, hi, how you doing? Hi Chris, hope you and the family are all keeping well and safe. Yeah, we are keeping well, we're all keeping safe. It's an adjustment. So I'm doing this video at the moment because I want to talk about parents that are at home with children, because I've got 2 kids. A lot of you know I've got an 11-year-old and I've got a 5-year-old, and obviously the schools are closed. Now it's handy the fact that the schools are closed, because kids are unhygienic, and I don't care what anyone says, it's going to be a case of kids do spread it. They may not get it as much as adults do, but I can tell you now, they spread it. So people, I know it's difficult. Schools are going to be closed. They're going to be closed for a while, but deal with it. But how are you dealing with having your kids at home all the time? Are they pulling each other's faces off? Are they constantly bickering? Are they arguing? Is it always, Mum, Dad, such and such said this to me, or they took my toy, they took my controller? Or are you living in a house of blissful serenity and everything's cool, calm and collected, and your children are absolute cherubs when it comes to behaviour? How are you dealing with schoolwork? Because I know that we're quite fortunate. Our kids' school, they've let us use one of the laptops, and we've got our own laptops. They've got a computer each. They can both log into the school website, and they've got all of their work on 2 different websites that they can use, along with other work that they had before the lockdown started, which is fine. We're very fortunate to be in that sort of position, and I'm grateful for that. So we've got all of our work sorted out, by and large. We try and keep our kids to a certain structure, so they start their schoolwork or their school day Monday to Friday at 9 o'clock. And then they have a break at about 10:30 till 11 o'clock. And then that's half-hour break. And then they have their lunch at 12 o'clock. And then from 1:15 till 3:15, that's another 2 hours of doing whatever subject is on the menu, basically. And I do my best, I try. I'm not the most intelligent person in the world, but I know a lot about, how can I put it? I know a little about a lot, and a lot about nothing, is what I try and live by that, to be fair. But I do try and help my kids when it comes to a lot of their education, because obviously we have to. We're not just parents anymore, are we? Especially if we're stuck at home. No, we're parents and teachers as well. I mean, to be honest with you, we're all teachers anyway if we have kids, because we have to teach our kids life lessons and rights and wrongs and the basics. But when it comes down to actual education, we're actually becoming one thing that we thought we'd never be, and we're becoming teachers, and we're actually learning stuff. I mean, it's silly, and there's a lot that I didn't know when I was at school. There's a lot that I didn't know at all, and there's a lot that I did. There's a lot that I paid attention to, and it's like World War II, for example. My boy was doing a bit of a homework piece on World War II recently, and his question was, how did the Second World War affect people at the time, and how does it affect people now? And to be honest with you, that's quite a hard-hitting question for an 11-year-old. But I sat down with him. It's not that I blurted facts and figures at him, because I could have done that. But I sat down with him, and for an hour and a half, I spoke to him about how it started, basically. How the Second World War started, how it ended, and all the in-betweens, ins and outs, and the attempt at genocide. Well, it wasn't an attempt, it was genocide, but luckily it ended. But I told him the good, the bad, and the ugly about it, and he listened, and he paid attention. Sending love from Portugal, sending my love back to you, so I hope you're well, my dear friend. I'm very well, thank you very much, and I hope you're well too. Sorry if I can't always catch the comments on here. It's really difficult trying to keep my arm stable. It's like I've got a built-in gimbal. And speaking of gimbals, I'm hopefully going to get a new gimbal very soon, a good stabilizer, so I'll be able to get out further and be able to track movement and be a lot more stable with none of this going on. So if you know of a good gimbal and where to get one, please let me know in the comment section down below. But moving swiftly on about how we're dealing with kids at home. So my kids, I tell them 3 times when it comes to anything, really. If I tell them once, I've told them once. If I tell them twice, I'm warning them. If I tell them 3 times, then they're being punished. That's just the way it is. So a majority of the time, I don't really have to tell them more than once, because they know that when I speak, I'm in business. So the discipline in my house is, I'm going to say, second to none. Although they do have their moments. They do have their moments, especially when they're having a bit of downtime and we allow them to play the Switch or the Wii or whatever. And then it's a case of, I want to play the game that he's playing. I want to play what he's got. I'm sorry I didn't catch that. All I caught on that comment was 3 strikes. I do apologise. So it's that. But one thing that I am also very aware of, is the last things that will open when this lockdown finishes. And again, I'm not classing it as a lockdown. I'm classing it as a slight restriction. Because if it was a lockdown, then the parks would be closed, which is what they should be. There'd be no public transport apart from shuttle buses only for key workers. A majority of that should be NHS, and there'd be no shops open at all if there was a lockdown. Supermarkets would be open 3 days a week for everyone else, and 2 days a week just for key workers if there was a full lockdown. And you'd only be able to go shopping if you had a specific token. Each household would probably receive 10 tokens, which means you could only go shopping once every 2 weeks to budget them. And if you wanted more tokens to go shopping to let you into the supermarket, you'd have to pay 20 quid. But these are my ideas. these aren't things that are actually real. These are my ideas. And they're clever ideas, I'd like to think anyway, but hey ho. But anyway, after this supposed lockdown, we all know now that one of the last things to reopen are going to be barbershops, hair salons and nail salons. Anything that requires physical contact realistically. And gyms. I don't see a gymnasium being opened up at any point soon. So I've seen on social media over the last few weeks people taking the clippers into their own hands. Yes, they have. And I'm also guilty of this. I am very guilty of taking clippers into my own hands. In fact, I have a haircut to prove it. But not so much that, is people are taking clippers into their own hands to cut their children's hair. Now, I'm guilty of that as well. I have cut my kids' hair, and I did a very good job of it, to be fair. In fact, I did a relatively blinding job. And no buses too, says Antonio, and he's correct. He's correct. But I did. I had to resort to cutting my kids' hair, because if they're not going to be open for at least 6 months, then my kids, being very good looking boys they are, will go from looking like very good looking handsome boys to very good looking handsome boys that look like girls. And no, they're boys. And I will not have my kids, whether they think it's cool, trendy or not, having long hair. And this is where I start getting negative comments, and when people start giving me thumbs downs, and I don't care. Your child's hair, until they reach the age of 18, is your responsibility, not theirs. So if they say to you one day, "Mum, I want to have long hair. I want to look like Joe Wicks, Mum. Please, Mum." If you let your kids have long hair, that's down to you. A lot of long hair suits a lot of kids, it's true. But I'm not having my boys look like girls. No. So I cut their hair. So my little bit of advice, if you want to give your kids a basic haircut, which does not involve skinning their heads with a number 1 or number 2, this is what you do. If you have clippers with all of the correct attachments, it starts as follows. You put on the number 1 clipper after making sure the blades themselves are oiled up and clean. And from here up to about here and around the back, you do a number 1. And it will look like a line going from the sideburns over the ears, going all the way around the back of the head to the other ear. It will look quite silly at first, but it won't be. What you then do is, after you've gone from here down and from here down all the way around with a number 1, and you have a line, you then get a number 3, and from here up you go up in almost like straight up, but you bring it towards you as you get to the top. Okay, that tidies up the side, and the line will still be there. Then what you do is you put on the number 2, and you go over that line in a very, very light motion against the head, but as you go up, bring it towards you. That will fade in the line. And then you know what I'm going to say then, is you then go from a 2 to a number 1.5, and you can adjust it. You then keep flicking between 2 and 1.5 until that fade is done. It doesn't take long. Then what you do is you get a number 7, or however long you want the top, and you buzz the top with whatever length you wish. And then you get that number 4 from the number 3 that you did earlier, and you do around the corners from the crown all the way around, that kind of side top. You do that with a number 4, using the same motion as what I described before, as you go up and down, but very light. As you go up to the top, bring the clippers towards you. And that will help you get a very good, very clean looking, almost professional looking cut. Or you could just go onto YouTube and type in basic short back and sides haircut with clippers. I'm pretty sure you'll find something. But the reason why I know this is because for the years I've been going to the barbers, I've paid attention. So dads out there who take their kids to the barbers, instead of just sitting while your kid's getting their haircut, reading the newspaper, which is full of all of yesterday's news, you should have been paying attention to how the barber cuts your kid's hair. Because I did that, I'm quite capable and very capable of cutting my kid's hair. So, you know, it's just a little bit of advice. Of course, you could just let your kids grow their hair, you know, if you're going to give in. I am my own hairdresser too, says Antonio. Hey. But parents, I mean, I would love to know how you're getting on. Because the thing is with it is, kids have a lot of energy. I mean, going back to the kids being at home, children do have a lot of energy. And if you can't get outside, how's your day been, says South London bus spotter? Not too bad. Not too bad. But kids have a lot of energy, and if you don't have a garden like me, and you live on the 3rd floor, or any floor like me, then you're really, really limited, really. And if you're lucky enough to live near a park, as I am, and you go to the park for exercise only, to find that there are literally hundreds of COVIDiots out in the park, don't risk it. Just go straight home, slap on a Joe Wicks workout, and get some exercise that way. And if you find the kids have got still too much energy, do a double session. And I would also recommend, right, that's real big. I would also recommend that, I've lost my trail of thought. That's it. If you're gonna let your kids do exercise, do their PE session in the morning. Do it in the morning. Because if you let them do their exercise in the morning, believe it or not, they'll have a lot more energy and focus doing their actual schoolwork throughout the day while they're at home. And then after school, make them do it again. Because you can guarantee they won't be getting that sort of exercise at school. So if they're getting their education at home and they're getting their PE at home, they will end up going back to school a lot fitter than what they would have been in any case. So it's just an idea, talking from one parent to hopefully others. I really want to know how other parents are getting on being stuck at home with the children. I actually personally can't wait for the kids to go back to school, but equally I'm enjoying the time at home with them. I'm enjoying being not just their parent, but I'm enjoying being their teacher. I'm enjoying being their role model, their mentor. Someone they can actually look up to and think, damn, my dad's clever. So anyway, I'm going, nearly home. Take care of yourselves. Love you lots. Mwah.